Let me introduce myself. I am Danilov Danil Nikolaevich, a first-year student of the second group of the Faculty of Dentistry of the Saratov State Medical University. I am participant of the international online conference in English named Global Health Trends in a Changing World. Here's a research on the topic Diabetes mellitus type 1. Diabetes mellitus is the most acute medical and social problem. The urgency of the problem is determined by widespread of diabetes mellitus, high death rate, and early disability of patients. Currently, diabetes mellitus ranks third among the direct causes of death after cardiovascular and oncological diseases. Purpose of the research are to find out what the life of people with diabetes used to be like and what it is now after the recent discoveries in science and medicine, and to determine the number of children with diabetes in the Balakova, to find out in which age group the disease onset occurs more often and which gender is more susceptible to the disease. There are two types of diabetes mellitus, type 1 insulin-dependent diabetes mellitus and type 2 insulin-independent diabetes mellitus. In my study, I consist only the type 1 of diabetes mellitus, insulin-dependent. Diabetes mellitus type 1 is an autoimmune chronic incurable disease caused by absolute insulin deficiency due to destruction of pancreatic beta cells with the development of persistent hyperglycemia and pronounced metabolic disorders. Diabetes in ancient Greek means to flow through. Was impossible to cure from. Patients were suffering from unquenchable thirst, but all water they drank immediately left the body in the form of urine. In the middle of the 17th century, the physician Thomas Willis discovered that the urine of diabetic patients had a sweet taste. The doctor noticed that the container with the patient's urine was covered with flies. This is how the word sugar, mellitus means honey, was added to the name of the disease. 2 centuries later, two scientists, Joseph von Meren and Oskar Minkowski, determined that the animals developed diabetes mellitus after their pancreas was removed. In 1920, physiologist Frederick Grant Bunsen was first able to obtain the drug insulin and use it to treat patients. For many years before the discovery of insulin, diabetes was considered a deadly disease. The only known treatment for the disease was a strict diet that severely limited carbohydrate intake. Patients who strictly adhered to the diet could prolong their lives for several years. Before methods of producing and artificially injecting insulin were discovered, children with type 1 of diabetes lived about 11 months after diagnosis. Frederick Bunsen and Charles Best gave the first injection of insulin to a patient in 1922. Insulin was extracted from the pancreas of dogs. On the 19th of January 1922, insulin was first injected into a man, boy with first type of diabetes. The first injection was unsuccessful. The patient's blood sugar level dropped only slightly. Scientists continued work on purification of insulin, and on the 23rd of January the boy received a second injection. The result was above all expectations. The patient's glucose level went down. Then insulin injections were given daily, and he began to feel better. The lives of people with diabetes today are practically the same as those of healthy people. There are now many gadgets and applications for measuring blood sugar and injecting insulin. Sugar can be measured with a glucose meter or a device Libra attached to the arm, which transmits the data to a smartphone. Sugar is measured before and after meals, every half hour and once at night. For high blood sugar, patients inject their own insulin with insulin pen or insulin pump. An insulin pump is able to administer insulin in microdoses, specifically to keep it at the same level. I analyzed medical records of children with diabetes and made some diagrams. It was found that in Balakova, at the end of 2020, there were 77 children with diabetes, 41 of them were boys and 36 were girls. From this, we can conclude that the prevalence of diabetes in children does not depend on gender. The diagram distribution by age shows that there were more children with diabetes in the age group from 10 to 14 years old. In the diagram, the debut of the disease, we can see that the peak of the disease is between ages of 5 and 9. The diagram share of children with diabetes per 10,000 of child population show that in 3 years the proportion of children with diabetes in Balakova recalculated per 10,000 of child population has increased from 15.1 to 20.6. Observing the last diagram, we can conclude that there is an increase in the incidence of diabetes among children in Balakova. In the creating the research, I reviewed the disease diabetes mellitus, analyzed medical records of children with diabetes, and formulated the following conclusions. Diabetes mellitus is a significant global problem that has not lost its relevance over time and, on the contrary, has become more acute. And it is important for everyone to take measures to prevent diabetes, including proper nutrition, regular physical activity, and blood sugar control. Nowadays, diabetes mellitus is no longer a disease that would deprive patients of the possibility to live, walk, and play sports normally. With diet and pills, the life of a patient is not different from that of a healthy person. Thank you for your attention.